The company's hope is to speed in and out of bankruptcy, but there could be curves and even a few roadblocks on the way.
Chrysler could close as many as 5 plants, 3 in Metro Detroit, as it restructures for a possible merger with Italian automaker Fiat. Engine plants in Detroit and Trenton and the Sterling Heights assembly plant could be on the chopping block.
But it is the plant list, and right on top of it says Sterling Heights Assembly, and boy, this came as a major league shock. Chrysler apparently doesn't feel it needs this plant that started out as a jet engine facility 56 years ago and converted to a car plant in the 80s.
We know it will mean some deep sacrifices and some real pain for real families within Macomb County, particularly in the area of the Sterling Heights plant.
The governor wants the loss of that Chrysler production and jobs to become a Fiat opportunity.
The Sterling Heights facility is an opportunity for Michigan to aggressively demonstrate how that facility could be used to build a Fiat car.
Fox 2's Amy Lang live in Sterling Heights, where workers are worried about their jobs. Amy.
That's because Chrysler's plants are closing as the automaker goes through bankruptcy. And now word that the Sterling Heights assembly plant will close permanently at the end of 2010. And Sterling Heights City Manager Mark Vanderpool hopes this plant will still be needed.
We should not be hitting any panic alarms. We feel very hopeful, and we're going to do all that we can to make sure that that plant stays open.
And Sterling Heights Assembly slated for closure, but not if city leaders can help it. Silva Harpetti is live in Sterling Heights with more on this city's lobbying plan. Silva?
Yes, the city has launched a full-blown campaign. City officials and workers here at the assembly plant are hoping that they can convince Fiat to build one of its cars here, the Alfa Romeo. The city also hopeful and proactive. It has launched an aggressive campaign courting Fiat, hoping this Chrysler assembly would not shut down for good.
With the 2-week deadline, the United Auto Workers Union is focusing on Chrysler right now. A deal with Chrysler may mirror what GM's will look like. Both companies are trying to restructure enough to justify more loans. Otherwise, GM is facing bankruptcy, and Chrysler will go under without a Fiat deal.
Workers at a Chrysler complex in Sterling Heights are keeping their fingers crossed tonight for a deal with Fiat. Auto analysts say the Chrysler stamping and assembly plants on Van Dyke could be important players in the partnership. Chrysler has upgraded the assembly operation over the last several years to make it a flexible factory that can produce a number of vehicles.
Let's begin with Action News reporter Cheryl Choden live in Sterling Heights, where officials plan to reach out for help in Washington. Cheryl?
And Diana, the mayor is here at City Hall getting ready for the trip tomorrow. He says more than anything, he wants the Auto Task Force to know how devastating it would be for this city if any of the plants in the city were to close. He said he hopes his second meeting with Dr. Ed Montgomery is as good as the first.
The first time I met him, he listened, he asked questions, and he seems like a man that's got a lot of heart, and that's what we need here, a lot of heart.
Sterling Heights Mayor Richard Noddy has met with Dr. Ed Montgomery once before and says he's looking forward to talking with him and members of the Auto Task Force in Washington, D.C. tomorrow, talking about how important the auto industry is to Sterling Heights.
Keep SHAP open! Keep SHAP open! Keep SHAP open!
With Chrysler announcing that SHAP was closing, the workers and many members of the community have decided to not take this news lying down. Last week Friday, many people lined up Van Dyke to show support of the plant that celebrated its 25th anniversary last Thursday.
For several weeks, the Dominski and Doyle radio show had been collecting photos of families affected by the auto industry downturn in order to create a banner that would put faces to some of the thousands of people whose livelihoods are now in the hands of politicians. In an effort to preserve the strong auto industry in the community, the first in a series of Sterling Heights Automotive Task Force meetings was held on July 13th at the Public Library. The first order of business was the development of a business case highlighting the advantages SHAP could offer the new Chrysler. In addition to Mayor Noddy and the City Council, the 50-member Automotive Task Force is made up of county, state, and federally elected officials and representatives from the Michigan Municipal League, the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, Macomb Community College, local school districts, and local business owners. Those attending Monday's meeting discussed potential economic development incentives that could be packaged to entice recommitment and reinvestment in SHAP by Chrysler or perhaps another entity.
There is something to celebrate tonight in Sterling Heights. Chrysler will keep its assembly plant in Sterling Heights open at least a little bit longer. When Chrysler went into bankruptcy, the Sterling Heights facility did not become part of the new company. But now Chrysler has purchased the plant from its old assets for $20 million and says it will keep building Sebrings and Avenger models through 2012. That news brings relief to many people connected to the plant.
City officials are commending Chrysler Group's decision to purchase the Sterling Heights assembly plant, a move that will preserve 1,200 jobs and $2.6 million in vital tax revenue to Sterling Heights. The purchase follows a nearly year-long effort by city officials, state and federal leaders, and the Sterling Heights Automotive Task Force to keep the plant open following the announcement last April that the facility would be closed at the end of 2010 as part of Chrysler's bankruptcy proceedings.
The Sterling Heights Chrysler plant that was scheduled to close after 2012 will stay open and add a second shift of 900 workers next year.
Chrysler Group's decision to keep the Sterling Heights assembly plant open beyond 2012 and add a second shift of nearly 900 people next year.
City of Sterling Heights officials are excited with the news that Chrysler has selected the Sterling Heights assembly plant for continued production of its mid-size vehicles. Chrysler's announcement to build a mid-size vehicle in 2013 is the culmination of a concerted joint effort by many participants dedicated to prevent the closure of SHAP following Chrysler LLC's bankruptcy in 2009.
Today's payday. Today we got the announcement, and that announcement, I'm happy for you folks, I'm happy for the city.
The company values the strong partnership with the state of Michigan and the city of Sterling Heights, and due to the financial incentives package offered by the state of Michigan and the city of Sterling Heights, we were able to make the business case to keep the plant open, and they made a significant contribution to keeping the plant open. Thank you.
The news is obviously great for the state of Michigan, and especially one community about 90 miles away from here. 900 jobs will be added to a second shift at Chrysler's Sterling Heights assembly plant. The $821 million investment means more than $1 billion will be spent by the automakers in town. And that's the largest investment in Sterling Heights history.
But Sterling Heights is a big beneficiary today, and congratulations, Mayor. One of the projects today is what we call a Lazarus plant, a plant that was slated for closure, and without the efforts of our local partners and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, it would have been closed. But the Sterling Heights assembly plant will now remain open, and we hope will thrive and add a new shift, and all of that is good news, of course, not just for Sterling Heights, but for Chrysler and for Michigan.
You may recall that 18 months ago, SHAP was scheduled for closing by the end of this year as part of the court-approved reorganization of Chrysler. And thankfully, the city of Sterling Heights, Macomb County, and the state of Michigan refused to accept this verdict. And so they created an Automotive Task Force, which began by researching possibilities and opening discussions with Chrysler. When SHAP's life was extended until December 2012, it added momentum to the task force efforts. And eventually a plan was drawn up to convince Chrysler that it would be a sound business decision to invest in SHAP and to continue the operations of this plant. And I'm also pleased that Mayor Richard Noddy of Sterling Heights is here, because this is an important event for the community and it wouldn't have been possible without the city's support.
Two years ago, the workers at this plant, Sterling Heights Assembly, had no expectation that they would have a job to come to today. And yet, fast forward, the loans are paid off, and Sterling Heights Assembly is about to get a second shift. A major, major change for Sterling Heights itself. Sterling Heights is a city of 129,000 people. Its City Hall, a quiet, restful place with a lovely fountain. The FBI's recent report listed Sterling Heights as Michigan's safest city and one of the safest in America. But that would have changed, says Mayor Richard Noddy, if Sterling Heights Assembly and its supplier stamping plant just up the street closed as Chrysler initially intended.
I think there'd be a lot more blight, a lot more crime. People have to work. If people aren't working, they resort to doing bad things. So it's been a big economic uplift.
And here's the big bonus. Fiat and its new platforms are going to be brought into this plant. They're going to start building those new cars, the successor to the 200 and the Avenger, starting at the beginning of next year.